this video is going to help you get started with the blues, or if you've been playing for a while, you might pick up a few tips and tricks along the way. So I'm going to put the contents of this video up on the screen here, and you can use the scroll bar at the bottom to skip to something that might be helpful for you depending on what level that you're at, from complete beginner, day one, trying to play the blues, on up to intermediate, you've been playing for a little while and want to pick up the blues style. So this video has a little bit of something for everyone. So use that scroll bar to skip around and find something that might be useful for you. We're going to start with just your basic blues rhythm. I'm going to try to go over some of the jargon that you hear a lot of people use, and you might not know what that means. So first off, 12 bar blues. Well, what is a bar? A bar is a measure of music, and it's like one unit that we count, and it depends on the pattern that you're using. Most songs, a lot of songs are in 4/4. That's common time. So 4 beats, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's one bar. And the way you keep rhythm in 12 bar blues, we're going to go over that in A. There's going to be some backing tracks. So if you look at my description, there's a link to my Patreon page, and there's a drum track. I like to play with that instead of a metronome. I'd rather use a drum track. This one's in 100 beats per minute. You can make your own in GarageBand. There's also a jam track for 12 bar blues in A, so you can practice rhythm, you can practice soloing over that. So 12 bar blues in A. So you get started with your first finger on the 4th string on the 2nd fret, and you're going to play just the 5th string and the 4th string. 5th string is open, 4th string, you're on the 2nd fret here, and you're going to palm mute it, which means you put this part of your hand, you rest it gently on the bridge right here. So you play this kind of alternating, groovy kind of thing. If you look at the music for this, it looks kind of weird, but this is definitely your blues rhythm. So I recommend, if you're trying to learn the blues, listen to it, watch somebody, because if you just try to learn it from the tabs, you don't get the feel, the emphasis of the notes and the accent of the phrasing, the way you play it doesn't come through on the tabs. So here we go. So this is, that's your basic one bar of blues. You're taking that 3rd finger and you're alternating between the 2nd fret and the 4th fret. And what you're really playing, like if you counted out all the notes of the scale, the open 5th string here is the root. That's an A note. And if you counted up the scale, this would be the 5th note, and you're alternating on the 5th and 6th note of the scale. So in A, you go A, B, C, D, E. So E is right here, that's the 5th, and then F sharp is the 6th. Now, that's only important if you're wanting to learn some theory, or if you're wanting to know what notes you're actually playing there. But really, all you got to know is 2 and 4, and alternate between that. So bum, 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 bum. And that's one bar. That's one bar of the blues. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and if you're doing 12 bar blues, you do 4 on that opening chord. So we're in A, you would do that 4 times, and then because we're in A, it's really easy to do the next chord. You just move the whole thing down 1 string, and now you're playing a D. So you're just going to play the 2 middle strings, so the 4th string and the 3rd string. You're still going to keep that same alternating pattern. So that's you play 2 bars of D. So you're gonna count to 4 twice, and that's gonna give you 2 bars in D. And then you're gonna come back and play A, 2 more bars, and then you're gonna go to E, and then for 1 measure, and then you go back to D, and then back to A, and then back to E. And that's your basic 4 bar blues. There's a tab in the description that takes you through that very basic rhythm and how many measures you play. You can follow along with that. Remember, D is down here. To make the E, you just go up to the top 2 strings, so the 5th string and the 6th string, and you alternate on the 2 and 4 frets right there, 2nd and 4th fret. So the whole thing would sound something like you'll hear in the backing track there. So have a listen to that. Now, if you want to play in different keys beyond just A, then you need to know how to move this thing around. And to do that, you've got to, instead of just doing, the 1st and 3rd finger here, you've got to learn to hold the 1st and 3rd finger somewhere and use your pinky to alternate. So when you're first starting out, this is a really difficult stretch. If you've been playing for a while, you can get a little more dexterity in your fingers, and you can do that. So to move keys around, you just got to know what your 1st finger is on. And so if you know the notes on the frets on these top 2 strings, the 5th and the 6th string, then you can play the blues in any key. So let's say you want to play in C. Well, a C is right here. So you're going to put your 1st finger on C on the 3rd fret on the 5th string. You can put this one on the 5th fret, your 3rd finger on the 5th fret on the 4th string. You're going to alternate with your pinky. Do that same thing. And if you're playing the blues, you can do just like we did in A. When you need to change chords, move it down. Now you're playing an F, move back. You're playing a C, move it up. You're playing the G. So a minute ago I was talking about the numbers of the scale. So if we're starting in C, you count up with your letters. So you go, if C is 1, then C, D, E, F, and G. So F is 4, G is 5. And when you're playing the blues, you're going to use the 1, 4, and 5 chords. And if you're doing it in A, here's the 1, here's the 4, there's the 5. If we're doing it in C, the 1, 4, 5. So that's a really simple way. You just need to know that starting point, and you can play that same pattern of 4 measures here, 2, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, just like that. So you can move this whole thing around. You can do D. You don't even have to know the notes, you just know the pattern. So you can move that whole thing around. You can do E flat, move it up 1. You can move it anywhere. So the 1, the 4, the 5. 1, 4, 5. Those are the shapes that you need to know. Now you can keep everything low down here. So you could play everything on the top 2 strings. So let me show you that one. Here's A on the top string. On the 5th fret on the 6th string is an A. I can do this for the 1 chord. For the 5 chord, I can go all the way up to D on the 10th fret. Come back. I can go down E, which is open, and then back to A. Now, that's your basic blues pattern that you can move around. You can use the drum track that I put there, and you can play this rhythm in whatever key you want. Practice moving it around. Do the 1, 4, 5. If you know your bar chords, it's the same thing. You're just playing the top 2, and you're alternating this. Now I want to show you some more difficult rhythms, some a little more complicated ones. You can spice it up a little bit. So instead of just doing that the whole time, you can vary the rhythm. So with that one, I put a little pause in there, and I'm hammering on from the 3rd fret to the 4th fret, and then hitting the middle 2 strings. So that's one way to vary up your rhythm. Another way to do it is to play the sixth and then the flat 7. So instead of just going from the 2 and the 4th fret here, you go on up to the 5th with your pinky. If you're trying to do that up here, then you got to just really stretch with your pinky. And that's one way to spice up the rhythm there. Another way, if you know your bar chords, here's an A7, and so if you're playing this A7, you can. That's a really fun rhythm. And what I'm doing is I'm strumming it once. So I'm strumming it once regular, and then I lay this 3rd finger flat, and I'm mashing all these down. It's really one of those. It's a chord that has a funny name. I don't even know what the name is there, but it's just quick in passing there. So you do, and that allows you to spice up your rhythm. And you can move that around anywhere. You can do it in E. You can do it in D. And that's a fun way to vary your rhythm. I want to move on to some turnarounds. So when you get to the end there, if you just go A to E, that's kind of a boring way to end it. You can make a much better ending if you use what's called a turnaround. Now, if you're playing an E, there's a fun open one, which is let's see. And what I'm doing is going from E to the 5th, which is B7, and I'm just hitting open A, 1st fret on the 5th string, 2nd fret, and then make the B7 chord. Now you could do that up here if you're playing in see, that's the same shapes work if I'm playing in A. Same shapes work. That's one way to do it. You can also do this fun little walk down thing. And I'm sliding up. I'm doing the 4th fret, and the 2nd string is open. The 1st and 3rd, I've got this on here. But that really only works in E. But if you want to do something like that, like let's say you're in A. So you've got an A right here on the B string. So if you put your pinky there on the 10th fret, and then on the 9th fret put this, and I've actually got a video that goes into this a little more detail. If you want to look that up, you can subscribe and find it. Look at my other videos. I've got one on just on turnarounds, but this one you kind of walk it down from that 9th fret. And you end on that A7 chord. And this one you can move around. If you know the notes on your B string, you can move this one anywhere. You can, from that same position on the 10th fret, you can put your middle finger there, and you can ascend. You can walk up from the 9th fret. And I'm kind of sliding into that E. So that's how you can turn it around. Let's talk about soloing over all this. You hear a lot of talk about the pentatonic scales, and what does that mean? What are they? How do you use them? So here's a very brief lesson on the pentatonic scales. Pentatonic means there are 5 notes, and there's something kind of magical about these because you can use them, and even though the notes that you're playing aren't exactly in the key that you're playing in, it still sounds good over certain chords. It's kind of wild. A lot of rock solos, a lot of blues solos will use the pentatonic scales. There's major and minor ones. And the funny thing is, if you're playing like the blues, that's going to be a lot of 7 chords, right? Like A7, D7, E7. It's a major sound. Well, you can actually play either the A minor pentatonic scale or the A major. Either one will work. That's a weird thing in music. You wouldn't expect that to work, but either one will work. The major one is going to have more of a major sound. The minor one is still going to work. So let's start with that A minor pentatonic scale. And for this, you can bar this 5th fret, and your A, your root, that's where everything starts. The scale starts. The chord is named after that. So your root is right here. Here's your A. You've also got one on the 1st string down there. So you start here, and then you want to skip 3 frets. And so that's your first interval there. And then you do just 2 frets on these 3 strings, and then you do 3 frets here. So it makes this nice little box, and you can play along with anything that's in A minor or A major with this scale. So you can, or A7, you can play along with that, and it works. You can actually play this for the whole song. Now, if the chord changes to like a D, well, it would work to change to a D scale, but you can actually play this whole thing and it sounds decent. So let's look at it. Now, if you just play it like a scale, it doesn't sound like much. But if you get so comfortable with the movement that you can really dance around with it, then it suddenly becomes music. So play this. This is the first shape. We call this box 1 of the pentatonic scale. And you can look up the different boxes and how to move between them. And you want to get to where you can play that pentatonic scale anywhere on the fretboard. Like this one uses the same notes from the pentatonic scale, but it moves across the whole thing. Try that again. And that's using several different boxes, but I'm using those same notes that are going through it. Now, if you want to make it sound a little more bluesy, you add what's called the blue note. So instead of a pentatonic scale, it's a hexatonic scale. It's got 6 notes. And your blue notes are right here in the 1 fret. So you add that one right there. Normally you would go, but instead you go. You can tell it's kind of a leading tone. It's a passing tone between those there. And that's your blue note. You've got another one right here. It's on the 8th fret there on the 3rd string. It's the same note. And that one, you really can get that bluesy sound. So here's a fun lick that uses that blue note. And what I'm doing, I'm sliding up to it. And you kind of have to get fast at it. You can also bend to that one. And if you want to really get good with your pentatonic solos, you've got to get good at the bends. You can slide or you can bend, and it gives it a little more character. And bending, there's a whole separate art to that. But just that first box of the minor pentatonic scale is really useful. Tons of solos built on that. Your Stairway to Heaven built around that minor pentatonic scale. Freebird is same thing. See, I've got this box. It's the box 1 of the pentatonic scale. A lot of that solo is built around that. You got some bends built in there, but it's still that minor pentatonic scale. Tons of rock and blues solos built around that minor pentatonic scale. So if you only learn one scale, learn the minor pentatonic scale. Box 1 is a great starting place. You want to get to where you can add the other boxes. This little shape, it kind of looks like a house. You've got this middle finger here, and then you've got these 2 frets and these 2 frets. Nice little box. That's it kind of looks like a house if you put the dots on there. This is a really fun place to solo. You can add that blue note in there. And that's a fun place to solo. If you move that whole, we're still in A right here. That's box 2 of the pentatonic scale. If you want to have some fun in a little different direction, you can move this whole thing up. We're still in A, but now this is what's called the BB box. And with the BB box, you get a little bit different sound. And it's the same shape as the minor pentatonic box 2, but you move it up 2 frets, and you're dancing around your A. Here's your root. If you just learn where the roots are and kind of dance around those for 2 frets either way, then you can get some fun solos, and you can move that around. You can do the same licks in a different place. So here's A on the 10th fret. You go up here, you got E. You go right here, 3rd fret, you've got D. And you can do that BB box. You can do some really fun licks. I've got another video on just the BB box. So the BB box adds that 3rd fret from your starting point there. So you got these two, this one, but you've also got that 3rd fret, on the 2nd string. And that by itself isn't much, but you add a little bit of musicality to it. Then now you've got some music. You've got something that sounds really cool, really fun. Sorry, my guitar has a little bit of a buzz there. This is a cheap Telecaster. Apparently not grounded very well. So that's box 1 and box 2 of the minor pentatonic scale. If you want to use the major pentatonic scale, you make the minor one, you move the whole thing down 3 frets, and now you're playing the major one. So if you know anything about music theory, you know there's what's called the relative minor. So and that's going to be on a 6th from where you started. So A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp is the 6th. So F sharp minor is the same thing as A major. And if you're looking at music, your key signatures look the same. There's 3 sharps in A major and also in F sharp minor. So you play that same shape over an A chord, it's going to have more of a major sound. Now, that won't work if your song is in A minor, but it will work if it's in A major. So that's you just change your starting position. The shapes are exactly the same. So A minor is the same, or A minor is the same shape as F sharp minor. But if you play F sharp minor, what you're actually playing is the A major pentatonic. It all just depends on where the root is. So here the root is right there, and this is the A major scale. It's the same shape, But if I move it up here, play the same shape, now I'm playing A minor. And you can, if your song is in A major, you can move between those two. You can play both of them, get a little bit different sound. You can move between the box 2 of the minor pentatonic and the BB box. You can move between those in the same song and it still sounds cool. So those are just a few ways to spice up your solos, to get started with all that. There's a jam track in the description. Leave me a comment on something else I can teach you. I'm still learning, but I've picked up some of the basics over the years, and I'm having a lot of fun sharing with you guys on YouTube here. I'm just a busy dad with a full-time regular job. I do this after everybody goes to sleep. But hey, it's a way to make music, and right now there's a pandemic going on, and so don't get to play anywhere out. So it's fun to play at home and to get better with things, to jam at things. So I hope you'll do the same. So leave me a comment, give me an idea of something else that I could teach, or if you have a question, if something doesn't make sense. Unlike the big YouTubers with lots of subscribers, I get so few comments, I can actually reply to you. So subscribe, leave me a comment, check out the tabs and the backing tracks on my Patreon page, and keep playing.